there'll be limited gaps. It always goes nice. So why?
Okay.
So I'll go straight from the back then. Why did we? Have you always been in Amsterdam? When did we move to Amsterdam?
I've been in Amsterdam since 2014, so it's almost 10 and a half years now. But I came to the Netherlands much earlier, in 1994. That was my first time.
Okay,
And I
was that
came
just
for a
like a
short.
holiday bit, or then?
No, I came for a course, and then I came back the following year to teach in that course, and then again. So I've been in and out since 1994, but I moved only in 2014. So I
Right.
had reasons to come back. I was studying here as well in a university close by.
Okay.
So but that's when I never touched comedy. I mean, from that university, which is about 100 kilometers from here, it's called Wageningen. We did come to Amsterdam for day trips, but just to have fun. So, do the Amsterdam things, maybe watch a comedy show. I remember going to Boom Chicago,
Okay.
which
Cool.
is
Yes.
like the big comedy place here. But that was only to watch. And I've always been fascinated by stand up. But, when I was growing up, we didn't have a scene in India. We had storytelling. Like people
Yeah.
would stand up and tell stories, some of them funny, some not. But we didn't have a tradition of stand up till I think almost 2011.
That's
So
just coming. I do have a Indian comedian coming on based in India, Anuvad Pal.
yes, I know him. Yeah.
I've got him coming on. I've never met a more courteous bloke online in my life. So I'm quite looking forward to that.
He's a
So
veteran as far as comedy from India goes, and he's done a lot of work in the UK. He speaks also kind of the British English with the accent and everything. He's very popular in the United Kingdom. I think more in
yeah,
London.
that's how I found out. But then when I was messaging me, he was like, "I'm in India at the moment." Then I just do the whole time zone crap, like
Right. In
like
fact,
playing.
I opened for him a couple of years, 2 years
Okay,
ago. I think. That was here in Den Haag.
okay.
So
So
yeah,
a couple of years ago, how long have you been doing comedy for?
3.5 years. I started sort of during the pandemic,
Good
and I
start.
started with improv actually. It
Okay.
was more to sort of just meet people because I my work requires me to travel a lot, and then during the pandemic we could not travel, so I had time sort of in hand, and things were not locked down yet, so they could organize some improv courses. So again at Boom Chicago, I did 4 courses back to back pretty much. But
Okay.
improv, initially it's a lot of fun. And then as you start getting into, say, object work or character work, it got into my head a bit.
Mhm.
And then I got sort of stuck with technique. And then, it got a little to me. And then also I realized that for improv, you need a group and you need space and you need to coordinate and organize. And I thought that was too much for me to handle at that point.
So you'd rather be a one woman show almost on stage by
Yeah, just be
yourself.
independent, do it when I can, do it when, not really have to do with people as such. Of course, in stand up, also, you have to be on lineups, you have to chase producers. So that still happens.
Presume, yeah, that's everywhere. Now, I
Yeah.
presume you've seen none of my stuff, but I've seen a bit of yours, and you're a bit of a dirty bird, aren't you? You are. You are filth, girl. Honestly,
Filth, probably
you
it's
are
too much.
dirty. Yeah, I'm
Ah,
trying to look for see the remotes behind you. Fucking hell, right?
yeah.
So, how did you decide what comedy you wanted to go into?
That's interesting that I mean, it's noticeable, of course, but, okay, I'm one of the oldest in age comics in the circuit here. Okay, I'm
No?
61 years old. And
Very
of course,
youthful in
I'm
this country.
like a boomer, of course. Yeah, invisible, whatever. So, and the audiences are primarily millennials. Some Gen X mistakenly are like a tourist who kind of comes in, or Gen Zs. But millennials are dealing with a lot of issues like dating and housing and, their jobs and unhappiness with whatever in life in general. And somehow for me, I am living my life also kind of backwards. So, having moved here, I have been single for a while. And I also go through the same issues that millennials go through. And for me, there's this added element of coming from a completely different culture, and upbringing, which kind of makes it even funnier when I encounter, say, a dating app or I
Okay.
go on a date, those kind of things. And so maybe that's what makes it, I don't know if it's filthy by default, but yeah. I mean, and to sort of add to that, I try to do clean jokes, you know,
Yes.
in the sense, simple thing like how I cannot remember passwords,
Mm.
which is everybody's problem. You've got passwords for everything, and
Personal problems, yeah.
yeah, and the advice is not to have the same one, but it's easier to have the same one kind of thing. But when I tried that in an open mic, people laughed. The jokes were funny, but it seemed like it was expected of a person of my generation to have that problem. So it's not
Okay.
like extraordinary or it's not something new, because we are not tech savvy according to the younger people.
Mm.
And I've just proved the point. So so when I talk dirty, I think people don't expect me to, and then I guess I become more likable. And it's not deliberate. It is still very authentic in that sense.
100%. And is it like everyone doing like, I don't know why I've like titled it as dirty, but I loved it. And but everyone still goes through that. But like I think the younger gen, because I'm 33. I don't know when I say I'm only 33 or I'm now 33. I don't know what bracket you start going up in. Like people. I think I'm in the middle tier of
Hmm.
age now. But it's always like everyone thinks they discovered it first. So younger generation are shocked. Oh my god, there's a 61-year-old woman talking about sex. Well, you've been riding and grinding your whole life. I don't mean that rudely, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah,
obviously you know about it, and obviously you can talk about it. But is there still that element of shock value?
there is, and also for myself. See, I'm sort of repeating the cultural bit because it's not easy to talk about these things in India.
Okay.
On a stage in front of a bunch of strangers. No Indian woman, I mean, nowadays, yes, but of my age, would tell this to people. So I think the element of surprise is not only about what I talk about, but because who I am. Also there is the expectation is that I'm supposed to be this I don't know, orthodox, shy Indian woman who, won't talk about these things in public. Not even to my friends, forget about on the stage.
Yeah, friends, let alone hundreds of people on the stage. So, okay, because you said you're from Amsterdam, but previously before I whacked the other call button, you said you have done a lot of Europe, you've done comedy in India and stuff. Is your comedy set universal? Is it transferable wherever you go, or do you need to write new stuff or use certain parts of your comedy arsenal pending where you are?
It's a guess, it's a bit of both. Well, I started here, so most of my sort of initial material is Dutch centric, because it's low hanging fruit, it's easy,
Yeah,
and it's also relatable because a lot of expats go through what I go through.
yeah,
So it is very Dutch centric. But as I started doing comedy, say even next door in Germany or in Belgium, I
yeah,
realized that some of the references don't work. So
yeah.
then I had to redo some of the jokes to make them more universal. But also, I then almost decided that I will dig more into my own personal stories and rather than make it observational so
Mhm.
that my stories are my stories wherever I tell them, and then it should not really matter where I'm doing it. But punchlines don't translate. I had issues when I was doing it in a different language back home in India.
Yes.
uh,
Is it like, I don't know if I'm being naive here. Is it like singing a song? Like the lyrics don't convert. He
no, no.
hasn't got the same flow.
Yeah, the words change, the meanings change, and you can't translate English straight away into, say, Marathi, which is my mother tongue. It's an Indian language. And I did a set in Marathi in the Netherlands. So I did it kind of mixed. We always mix English with, because that's sort of the modern way of speaking. So I tried to, but even my flow and my fluency is kind of a bit less because I'm out of practice.
Okay.
And also, there might be better words to use, which I can't think about as faster anymore. So if I'm in that sort of atmosphere, then it comes to me easily. But I do try, but I want to write a set in my own language, the whole set. and deliver it. That is one of my goals, but that hasn't happened yet. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I called you a dirty bird. What would you generally like classify the type of comedy you do?
Anecdotal, if there is like a genre like that, some
Yeah.
observational bits. Not many one-liners. I'm not good at like very strict, set up punchline kind of things.
I'm not a fan. I compliment and commend one line comedians, and it is my guilty pleasure. I do
I
enjoy
love
it,
that
but
too. Yeah.
I do find it low hanging fruit. Once again, my favorite type of comedians are storytellers. I must be honest. I think, especially with this day and age, to hold and captivate an audience for so long.
Exactly. I would be tired myself if I just go one liner by one liner for 60 minutes. I need 61 liners pretty much. And that's a lot, or at least 50. But I think stories are easier. They fill up time also faster. Of course, you have to tag them. In fact, that's also a struggle now that if you have sort of silences, because stories also need a build up.
Yep.
And yeah, and then so the laughs per minute rule doesn't really work, in a story because you
Okay.
don't want to break the flow with laughter. So there's a bit of a contradiction there. I don't know. You have
And
that issue?
and what's the comedy scene like in Amsterdam?
Oh, it's very vibrant. I mean, post-COVID, it's on a boom. And it's not just Amsterdam. Huh? When I say Amsterdam, it's more like Rotterdam is big. We have a huge club Hawk there, which is a very professional club, and it's doing very well. A lot of visiting comics come there. Den Haag is catching up because they have a huge expat community, bureaucrats, and all these international people. And then Utrecht, which is kind of in between. So these are kind of the four main hubs. And then the far out cities like Groningen or Eindhoven, which are predominantly university towns, they
Yep.
have a huge student population,
Right.
international. So they also have a decent sort of English comedy scene. But I mean, there's a Dutch comedy scene everywhere already, huh? So that's
Mhm.
already, I think, but that's like the cabaret kind of tradition.
Okay.
And
Fair.
yeah,
Yep.
that's much older. I don't know how many years old, but it's all already there. English is relatively new.
Well, I was speaking to Alice Frick, who is an Austrian comedian, and
Uh-huh.
she's moved to London. And I think like with her on her first couple of shows, she was then doing an hour long special, and then when she moved to London, she was having to fight for 5 minute open mic spots. So like, how long are you like usually allowed to do a set for?
Well, of course, I started with like 4 minutes or something.
Yeah.
So I was like, do I just go tell my name and come back? What am I supposed to do in 4 minutes? Uh,
Okay.
First open mic was 5, but I ran over and they let us. I went up, I think, up to 7, which was ridiculous. But yeah, but I think 8 is sort of the average
Right.
spot that you get in an open mic. Or sometimes now with a bit of familiarity, okay, you can go 10, they allow us. Um, but yeah, 10 is more, 8 to 10 is more or less the standard. But there are shows, like curated shows that have longer spots. So 15, 20 is also happening.
Okay. Fair. Okay. So in the have you ever done the UK at all?
I did a bit in UK. I mean, I went with a friend and we were kind of doing kind of a double bill kind of show. We called it 69ers, but
Love it.
because she's exactly my age, so we both had.
Dirty bird. I told you all guys from the beginning. You
She's
know.
she's even like she's a dominatrix, and she had
Uh,
even more, edgier stories about her time as a dominatrix. But so we were invited to Cambridge to do the
oh, yep.
some spots. Yeah, she was headlining. I did a 20 minutes. She did I think
Yep.
30. And then on our way in, we stopped in London and we did shows in Covent Garden, I think, with
Cool. Do
uh,
you remember the club name? I did Covent Garden 2 Saturdays ago.
uh, it's Jeff Whiting, his clubs. He's quite a well-known booker. It's I can tell you the name. It's part of a Japanese restaurant, and then they have comedy downstairs, but it's sold like a package. So people do, oops, sorry, people do dinners and then they watch
Full
comedy.
package.
Yeah, it's called Imao or something. I can tell you
Yeah.
what.
Anyways, how did you find doing comedy in London in comparison in the UK in comparison to Europe?
It was nice. I mean, London, for one, English is easy. Here, when we do it, we do have a bunch of internationals, and there are people. It's like the United Nations. We have people from at least 15 countries in one show, minimum.
Oh,
And
okay.
the English proficiency level is a bit up and down. So not everybody speaks English fluently. So sometimes jokes land, not land. It's always a bit. But in London, we didn't have that problem at all. I
Yeah.
think the audiences are also more seasoned and they know what to expect in a comedy show. A lot
Yes.
of Indians in the audience for me, that was interesting. And
Yes.
they also could relate a lot to what I was saying, not just the language, but also the content. And they came to me later and said, nothing has changed. We still have the same issues, kind of thing, even though we live in London. So it was interesting to get that perspective. It was really nice. Yeah.
Love that. And how would I semi wanted a I don't know why because I'm rooting for you, but also I wanted to see the raw sometimes heckleness of the British people. But how are you at dealing with crowd work? How is your crowd work? How do we deal with hecklers?
Unfortunately, I've not invested a lot in building my crowd work skills. That's a bit of a, yeah, that's my weakness in a way, because I thought, let me focus on the craft first.
Yeah,
And then, so I've not even hosted shows. I'm not very forthcoming doing that. I mean, I do have yes, no questions in between,
yeah,
but I don't really engage because I always have this kind of nervousness about what if I get an answer that I don't know what to do with. And
yeah. Completely agree. And the best way to start off is with closed questions. Like I do a gay bit, and my favourite closed question I always ask is there anyone gay here tonight? And they
yeah.
go, oh, thanks for coming out.
Oh,
So
that's
simple.
nice. Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
simple. It's so cheap. It's
yeah,
like, you
yeah.
know what I mean? I know I'm gonna get the answer I
Mhm.
want.
Yeah,
Or you know, what I mean, is there any short people in the audience? I'll ask you to stand, but there's no point.
yeah,
It's just
yeah.
this like
No, I need to work on it. I will focus on it I think, I don't know, maybe this year or
I feel
because there
like
are
with
opportunities. Well,
close questions, if you are engaging the audience without having to engage the audience, it's a cop out, and that's what I love.
what did you say? I mean, sorry.
So with closed questions, it feels like you're talking to the audience because they're
Yes,
talking, but you're
yes,
not actually talking to them. So it's a
that's
bit of a
true.
cop out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I have thought of a few questions like that, but I hesitate to use them because I lack the confidence. I think it's just the same thing you have before you start stand up. So this is just another bit of a starting trouble thing that I just have to take the plunge and see how I can, where it goes. Maybe
I,
emceeing might help, I think.
I'd hated MCing, hated it. Wasn't a fan. I when I did MCing, all I ended up doing was just doing a minute of my bit, then bringing someone on, then doing a minute of my bit, then bringing someone on. But once again, it's a complete different skill. It's a complete different craft. So
Yeah, there's different schools of thought also. I mean, some people say, I did a course on sort of crowd work and emceeing, but I wanted to know more about crowd work within my set, not so much for emceeing. But for emceeing, people say that, they have the same old questions like, where are you from? Are you on your first date? What is your relationship? Or if it's a job, what do you do kind of thing. It's to warm up the room, but also get to know who's in the room. And they say you should not do your bits when you're an MC because your job is strictly to get to know the room and bring the comics up. But I guess for an MC, it's also a chance to try out something new or an old bit because how do you fill up time if you're given like 8 minutes to start the show?
yes, how do you
You have to bring
divide
in
the
your
time?
jokes, right? What
Yeah.
else can you?
So
Yeah.
you just give me like a light bulb moment for the audience. You don't this will be irrelevant to you, but the police what I'm doing, just go around the room asking what they do for a living. Like,
Or you could
that's
try
that's a
different
piss.
types of policemen.
Yeah. Okay. What do you do for a living? Okay, cool. What do you do for a living?
And do you
They're
like
all,
it? Yeah,
they're
yeah,
all
yeah.
coppers. That's a piss, that one. So, okay. How do you go about writing your jokes? Do you like sort of do the Seinfeld? You sit down, allocate half hour a day, or is it when it comes, and you make sure you write it down?
Well, I don't have a very disciplined writing regime. I mean,
I
initially,
don't. I don't. So.
Well, I try to write as and when, but I'm still on the sort of scripting everything word to word.
Okay.
So as I would say it, or because I say it in my head and I write it down and I type. I don't write it with longhand, because I like the editing. Because I always go back and forth, up and down. So I'm changing things all the time, and but nowadays I'm trying to just bullet it and write the bullet points and then not riff, but then remember the bit around it and do it without having fixed number of words. Uh,
I'll tell you a little trick I've recently started doing, and it's only about a week ago.
uh-huh.
I'm just like you. I write it all word for word,
Yeah.
but then I take away that Word document. Do you do a Word document, yeah?
Yeah,
Presume
yeah, yeah, yeah,
take
yeah.
away and then do the dictate and then say it again and then compare them. How
Right.
accurate you was. Because as you click the dictate on Word, it'll just write down what you
Yeah,
say,
yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah.
you can compare them both, see how close you was to your script.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why that seems to be working for me to remember my lines quite quickly.
Yeah, I also sometimes worry that, I'm not making age an issue, but I do think age matters, or just there's too much clutter in my brain. I don't know what. Also, alcohol, initially I would like have one beer just to loosen up a bit.
Yeah,
And now I realize if I
much
have a
courage.
beer, I forget. So I have to be a little careful about that. Um, yeah, you know what I do is I record my show, either video but mostly audio, and then when I play it back, I can actually see whether I stuck to the script or not.
Right.
And sometimes the new wording helps better. It's maybe shorter, or it's just more effective. I've used a different set of words to say the same thing, and I've got laughs. So yeah, I do play around with them, but I still haven't gotten to the level of just going with a set list. And I mean, the bits that are sort of now muscle memory, I don't need to write them anymore. I'm fine. I can. I like to play with the sequence a bit, the order, and I'm trying that because that's also based on the time I have for the spot. So then, yeah.
So does yours, as you're a storyteller, does your sort of like your bit go? It has to go A, B, C, D, or can you move parts around?
Well, yes, I can. The placement of the story, I have sort of little stories, right? And then I have some segues that connect the stories. So I can play around, but I cannot manipulate I cannot reduce the size of the story as much because then the story doesn't make sense if I edit it too much. So I have to keep the
Yes.
story pretty much as is. Now, the only choice is whether I bring it up, you know, uh, before or after a certain joke, or if I don't bring it up at all. But I cannot, and that's the problem where, I tend to then maybe go over time because once I start the story, I have to finish it. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
Yes, I
You
was.
know?
Yeah, completely agree. I was. Yeah, you just lost time and yeah, lost the
Yeah.
people. So yeah, with a storytelling, how often do you write new material? How often do you do new material? And how many times would you try new material?
Oh, well, we have open mics. Till about last year, I was doing a lot more open mics, also going all the way to Den Haag and Rotterdam. But this year, I thought I'm not going to travel outside Amsterdam for like a 8 minute spot. It's just too much, You're going like 1.5 hours one way on the train, and then hang out there 2 hours, get your 8 minutes, and
I agree.
so that's a lot of work and also money because trains have become expensive. So it's
Also,
not
there's
worth
got to be a
it.
cost benefit analysis of doing it.
Yeah, yeah. And what I've recently sort of started doing, and which is paying back to some extent, is storytelling. We have storytelling shows here,
Okay.
and we have 2, 3 places where they have open stage, so it's kind of an open mic for stories, or they have curated lineups for stories, and you can go from the open stage is about 7 to 8 minutes. So what I do is when I think of a story, I write it as a story. The best part about doing it there's no compulsion to be funny, but it is a funny story. to start with. But I don't have to have jokes, jokes, jokes. Everything shouldn't be haha. But I get the arc of the story right. And then once I do it like once or twice, I know the story, I know the beats, and then I edit it ruthlessly for stand up. And then it doesn't have to have the same chronology, it doesn't have to have everything that I have in the
Yeah.
story. So I can bring it down to, say, maybe even a 3-minute bit from
Yes.
So I
Okay, yeah,
play
very
around with
simple.
the
Yeah.
detail, and but that has worked for me. And two stories that I sort of, I don't know which set of mine you watched, but I have a whole story about the time when I went to get a Brazilian wax.
Love it.
And that is hilarious because it's a true story. So I told it as a story, and I sort of act out a bit. So about 8 to 10 minutes. But there are some things that I can cut out if I don't want to make it that long.
Yes.
And then
Okay.
I link it to my dating stories in a way that, I'm on a dating burnout and I was telling my friends I can't do this anymore. It's probably I'm too brown, I'm too old. So my friends say, why don't you do something about your hair? That might improve your dating prospects. So I went and got a Brazilian. And then and then
Love it.
already is a funny segue. And then I talk
Yes.
about the whole Brazilian story and then bring it back to dating. Like after that, what I've decided that, this is not going to help improve my dating prospects. I just need to do something else. So it works very well. And now I have a similar story, which I'm sort of working on, is also about my experience of wearing a bikini for the first time, which is also hilarious. And again, it sort of goes with my persona of
Yep.
this crazy, daring Indian woman who's trying out things I would never dare to do back home,
Mm.
nothing. So that's also about 8 to 10 minutes now. And I've
Mm.
told it almost 3, 4 times in the storytelling thing, and I've got a standing ovation for that.
Awesome.
So yeah, so I have to now chisel it and bring it into my sort of stand-up material. So
Okay. And so, how many times would you try the joke on open mic level before? Say if you tried it once and it got no laughs, would you do
uh,
it again? How many times would you try it?
it's also a matter of opportunity, but at least 5, 6 times I would try it
Yeah.
out. Yeah,
Five
yeah.
times, different rooms, different people. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have this sort of, I have this mindset that if I'm being paid for the sport, I'm not going to bring in new material.
100%.
It
Yeah.
has to be tried and tested. It's not fair. But
Yeah.
if I'm not being paid, then I'm not afraid of bombing. I mean, it works. The only thing is whether I should use my notes or not is always my struggle.
Mm.
I try not to, but then I forget, especially if
Mm.
it's new. So I do have a cheat sheet. And so, yeah, I would
Well,
say
you could
five,
write them on your
7.
hand and just say you've been to an Indian wedding.
No, but I can't write the whole bit.
Well, I've seen the tattoo, the paint they've got. You could
Could do
put
that. Yeah, yeah.
10 minutes on
But
there.
then we have and we have real audiences for open mics here, which is actually nice because then you
Mm.
really know whether, because I did open mics in New York,
Yeah.
um, and it was horrible,
Other
because
comedians.
all comedians not interested. They're
Yeah.
looking into their phones. They give you a chuckle here and there, but they couldn't care less.
Yeah.
It's like standing in front of a mirror and doing it. You get nothing.
Yeah.
So
But that's
why
what about
do
the
it?
cost benefit analysis. What did you learn from that? There was no benefit, so the money you spent to do it
And you
isn't
have
worth.
to pay to play, so you
Oh,
really have to spend
really?
a lot of money. Oh yeah, you have to pay $5 for 5 minutes. That's sort of an entry. Then you have to buy a drink, which is $8 in New York. So you pay $13 to get into a room which is full of comics who are not interested in you at all,
Mm.
and you don't know them from Adam, so they couldn't care who you are. You go
Yeah.
up to a mic, you blurt out your set, and you leave. It's it's ridiculous. There's no benefit. There's only cost. I wouldn't
Yeah.
do those mics
No,
ever.
I'd find them infuriating. I mean, in London, we have a thing called bringer spots where you have to bring someone with you. And I was a little bit coy about them, talking about them openly on the pod first. I've never been to one, and I am now an activist against them. I,
Oh,
I, I,
nice. Okay.
I don't see why you've got to bring. It's it's their job. If they're doing it as an open mic, fair enough. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But if you're portraying it as a comedy night and you're getting people to pay to come in, and you want me
Mm.
to bring someone with me, that I have a problem with.
Yeah. And especially if you're out of town, from out of town, where do you get people to come in with you? I
Yeah,
mean, unless you have a friend. It's not fair to the friend either to pay $10 for a ticket. We don't have it yet here, but people are sort of worried that that might happen.
no,
Because
you've really got to push against it. Like,
the audiences are becoming less and less sometimes. Because I think audiences cannot differentiate between an open mic and a curated show. For them, it's
yeah,
comedy. And then the free show is obviously better than the paid show. That's all they see. So if I can go in and listen to 10 comics, of course, there people announce it's new material. These people have never told these jokes before. All that is there. But and then they don't like that show, and then they badmouth the comics because I went to the show and they were not good. So
yeah,
it's creating a very weird atmosphere here. And of course, I don't know how it is in the UK, but here, if there are some people who have consistently not got spots for whatever reason, then they go and open their own mic, you
yes,
know? It's, because at some point you get frustrated. It's like I'm applying for spots and I'm not getting them, so I might as well run my own mic. And then of course there's reciprocity, and then he or she gets spots. So that had happened in between. A lot of mics were mushrooming,
yeah.
and
I mean, I once again, I'm very two ways about that. I think if it's open mic, it's Wild West. It's free for all. The caliber doesn't matter,
mhm,
truly, and you know, no problem. But the second it gets paid and people aren't getting spots, they need to. I know as harsh as it sounds, and it's just the raw advice you can always give. Get better. I know as harsh as that sounds, get better. Unless there's some underlying reasons. But the reason I'm a thing that I've sort of posed, and it's happened to a couple of places in London. People have created their own safe bubbles for comedy, so they're
mhm.
only inviting their mates in,
Yeah, we have that too. Yeah,
and then they're all basically part of my colloquial etiquette here. They're all
yeah,
basically sucking each other off, telling each other how great they are,
hmm,
and they're not dealing with the real world and the real consequences.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm two ways about that. But anything to create more comedy is also a positive.
Well, there is a lot of space for everybody. At least in the Netherlands, there's lots of new rooms. There are different cities where you can do. Some people don't want to travel, which is fine. I mean, you can't afford to travel everywhere. So then that creates different problems. If I don't get spots in Amsterdam and I'm not willing to go to Rotterdam, then I'm stuck. But then I end up maybe opening a room in Amsterdam when you don't need to. It's like you have 10 open mics, for example. It's not going to fetch audiences then.
Of course not. But you just don't want to become the devil you've tried to avoid.
Yeah, yeah,
I think
that's
that's
well
also
said. Yeah, yeah,
that is also like part of a yeah, part of the terms. I had another point on that. I was okay. What ultimately, because if I speak to you, down university, you've got, I presume, a good job. What do you want out of comedy?
yeah. I've been thinking about this a lot recently. I mean, when I started, it was more for the fun and for having a community, meeting people, the social
It's
part of it.
fantastic. Yeah,
But yeah, which is great. It also opens doors when you travel, right? So when I go, even on work, I was in Bangkok and for a conference, and then I stayed back, and then I did some comedy. So you meet local people, you get straight into, you. So
yes,
that's a nice reason to do it. And now that I think I'm growing as a comic, I see possibilities. Now, whether I can earn a living out of it, I don't think so yet. I'm way away from that. But I want to at least have a special, either on some OTT platform or just YouTube or whatever. But I would like to work towards a full solo hour show, either bring it to Edinburgh
yeah.
or just keep doing it, tour around with it a bit, and then tape it and end it there.
Okay.
But I
Is
don't
there
know
a
whether
fringe
I'll stop
equivalent?
after
Sorry,
that.
in
Sorry.
Europe, is there a fringe equivalent?
Not that scale. No, there are
Right.
several festivals happening.
Yeah.
I think many European countries have festivals. So there is more Scandinavian has, I think every Scandinavian country has a festival. Then Cyprus, I'm recently, I will go there maybe. So that's there. Then yeah, Amsterdam Fringe is slightly different. It's not just comedy, but it has storytelling, cabaret, other stuff as well, performing arts, just like Edinburgh. But I think Edinburgh is more known for comedy than the other stuff. So this is the other way around. So yeah, festivals are a good opportunity. I think Barcelona has a festival which is very good. Estonia has a festival in Tallinn. So there are a lot of those coming up. But the thing is, they're very small. So one has to again invest. I mean, you can bring your show there, they will put it up for you, but you've got to pay your way, you've got to pay.
They're costly. Yeah.
It's expensive. But I guess that's one way of getting some visibility, which helps, I
I,
guess.
I, I will challenge that once again. I obviously doing this pod, I've spoke to some absolute world star comedians, Alistair Barry, Ali Wood, and they said with social media now, agents will no longer go to comedy nights. They'll no longer go to fringes because they can watch it all online.
Well, that's true. I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense because in India, the scene is very different. And we meet a lot of Indian comics who travel here and do shows. And just yesterday, I was with one of the biggest comics from India, Zakir Khan. He does comedy in Hindi. He's a storyteller. He did a show for 2 hours in Boom, Chicago, and the
It's
tickets.
long.
Yeah, he's going to perform in Madison Square Garden end of this month, and 19,000 audience for a
Two
comedy
hours.
for 2 to 3 hours. And he has sold 9,000 tickets already. The show is 24th of August, and he will sell out.
What's his
Okay,
name?
it's Zakir Khan with a Z.
You have to do better than me on that one. Zad, Zed. Yeah.
Zakir. And
Zakir, yeah.
Khan,
Khan, Khan.
Khan. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I want to see what a 2 hour set is. That is
Yeah.
long.
But if you want to see English, we have another very interesting and very big comic called Veer Das. You probably have heard of him. Veer,
Again?
V-I-R, V for victory,
Yeah. Build
I-R,
us.
Veer Das.
Build us. Yeah,
He,
yeah, yeah. I've heard. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
he does English. He's got 5 specials on Netflix. He just finished a world tour of his last special, which he just released on Netflix. But I went to watch it in Carnegie Hall
Okay,
in
cool.
New York, and that was a big show. And that was about an hour and a half, I think. I think Indian comics do 90 minutes minimum, but they are all popular on social media, YouTube.
Yes.
I think they get their audiences. See, if you have followers, that translates into tickets. That used to be the thing, but now also people are wondering whether that holds good for everybody. So, it's a bit of a gamble, I think. I don't know.
Yep, 100%. And just because you're good at on social media, you're good at doing your TikToks, your shorts, your clips, it doesn't always transfer to the stage. So that is also
You don't know where your audience is. I mean, we have a few influencers here who've become comedians.
yeah,
They have huge followings. They have, I would say, at least 100,000 followers, which is a big number.
yeah,
But they're, say, based in the United States. So when it comes to running a show here, they're not useful. They're not going to buy your tickets, right? So it doesn't translate into sales. So it is a bit of a risky thing. I mean, TikTok also, but I guess visibility helps. If
yeah.
people know you, somebody recommends. It also depends on if you do a show. There are touring comics, I think, who benefit more than people who would sort of perform just
In one
within.
spot. So obviously,
Yeah.
yes, it's inflated economics, isn't it? Like it looks better on paper than what it would be. So again, I'll ask you a fun question then. What is and then we'll go to the penultimate, my favorite question.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing you've seen someone do on stage?
Worst thing.
Yes.
Uh, well, um, a couple of things. I mean, it's a bit imagined, but I've also seen it happen. is you go blind, you completely zone out. I've seen comics literally stop, and I don't know what it was, but they just completely zoned out and took a break, sort of in, but not a huge one, but you could see that there was a bit of a, blip.
Yeah. Okay.
There are some people who go really sort of racist, or they get into these sort of sensitive topics.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole world has gone a bit nuts on some issues.
Completely. 100%.
Yeah, so this whole thing about being woke and being cancelled, the whole about gender fluidity or the whole trans, the
Yeah.
LGBTQ kind of. But in Amsterdam, it's much more liberal, so people are okay. But sometimes you get into zones where I think one should not. I mean, you're still in a public arena, you're still talking to a very varied audience, and their level and sensitivity is quite different. So you can't pitch your, you might think everybody ought to know, but maybe everybody doesn't know, you
No,
know.
and my rule of it, I'll ask you as well. Well, I'll ask you first. Can you joke about anything?
No, I would not joke about politics, for example, because again, I'll give you Indian context that people have got how do you say, we call them first FIRs, so they have become police cases for making wrong jokes or
Right.
anti-establishment jokes
Okay. Okay.
or
Yeah,
just
that's completely
ridiculing.
irrelevant. Yeah.
I mean, there's a very famous comic. He made a parody song on the sitting chief minister
Yeah.
without naming him, and he's gotten into huge trouble. Of course, he's out of it now. But the thing is, it becomes such a big issue. I don't want to be in the middle of controversy. So if I would rather not than invite trouble, because of course I'm too new and too small in that sense. But
Yes.
yeah, politics is one thing that I would be a little afraid of
Right.
addressing. Same with religion, because that's also kind of it has a very volatile feel. Religion
Okay.
is, yeah.
I mean, that's a complete different side I've never seen before because being British, I mean, we've got a bit of a council culture happening here, a bit two-tier policing. But general rule, I can joke about anything I want. I'm not saying I do without the fear of repercussions of actual legal repercussions.
Yeah,
So
these
I
are
do, I
legal,
do,
and
I
yeah,
do
yeah,
completely
yeah,
understand. I'm not going to go do probably North Korea calling Kim Jong Il a bitch. Like I ain't going to risk
exactly.
that.
Yeah,
Like whilst it might be different with my opinion, not going to
yeah,
risk it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I think like the highlight of it is like you could joke about anything as long as it's funny, but also make sure the juice is worth the squeeze.
That's well said. Yeah, because I think so. For example, the whole world is like this whole Palestine Gaza thing.
Yeah,
I mean, if you talk against the Jews, you become anti-Semitic. If you
yeah.
talk pro, then you're kind of anti-Gaza. I don't want to take a stand. I have my own political beliefs and convictions, but this is not the forum where I want to really talk about them and engage with people on it.
Well, especially when it's so easy to ostracize such a large member of the audience straight away. Because there's some topics where no matter people won't hear the joke, they'll just
Mm,
hear the premise and then
mm,
decide. Like I have one joke about it, and I'm going to say it because it's not offensive at all. If I've done a bad joke on stage,
yeah,
I just say, "Oh, cool, I'm going to call that joke Israel because it just bombed."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that is it. There's no
You
political
can
side to
diffuse
it.
it. I mean, I think also, like I said, also depends on who's making the joke, where it's being, which audience is there. If it's in a bar and it's in a basement where, it's a bunch of tourists who are half drunk, I mean, it doesn't matter. But you never know who can get offended, what you will trigger,
Yeah.
and I don't think early stage comics, I mean, some people have that bravado, but I don't. I would rather not because, yeah, there's
I
so
don't.
much more you can talk about. I mean,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
highly agree. And also, you got to bear, like consider the persona you're giving off on the stage. Like I find black jokes funny, just like I find Asian jokes funny. All the Indian jokes I find funny, but I'm not going to do them because how I'm going to come across on stage. There's no point.
right? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
The persona I give off, I couldn't get away with it. Where my friend Malike, who's a Turkish woman, she does Muslim jokes and she kills it because
mhm.
it's her persona.
And if she's a Muslim, she can talk about it. She has the authority to talk about it.
Yeah,
So it's not punching down for her. It's also, I do talk a lot about some of our customs and our traditions, but I have the authority to talk about it because I come from that
you're an
background.
ambassador of that
I'm not
subject.
criticizing it, I'm questioning it. It's a slight difference there. And I think I also talk about it in my own context of how I experienced it and what it did to me. And
Well, it's your
I,
story.
yeah, it's my story, so nobody can challenge that. But I think this whole, like I said earlier, the clean comedy thing is no politics, no religion, no sex. But then
Ism.
what's left? It's
Got it.
it's also what do you talk about then?
Yeah, completely agree. You need. There's a difference between talking about a topic and punching down on a topic. And so, yeah, I feel like you can talk about anything. Just, yeah, don't. There's no need to punch down unless it's really, really bloody good. Then I do want to hear it. Like, I've got to be honest. I am an advocate for. I appreciate a good joke.
Oh,
Uh,
I'm
like,
totally for it.
I,
I love dark comedy as well, but
yeah,
you need the skill for it. That's what I'm saying.
100%. It's
You
got
know,
to be done in the craft. If it's
yes,
done tastefully and if it's done
yeah,
in a way that, because like being comedians, we appreciate the science behind a joke as well.
yeah,
And if you can see it ticks all the boxes and it's masterfully done, then I applaud it. But if it's just some
absolutely.
guy going on stage being like, "Oh, I hate black people," da da da, it's like, mate, just,
No.
yeah,
And
it's
some people do it for and I don't know, it's a shock value.
yeah,
That doesn't, you can see through it. I mean, it doesn't work then. It's not a genuine joke.
no.
It's not for humor. It's just to create this or trigger people. And yeah, I mean, there are some people who are very, how do you say, top down. They're not
Touchdown.
friendly comics. And
No.
then people don't want to sit in the front row because they might pick on you and then you feel insulted. They do insult jokes. There are some people who have that persona.
With the front row, I do think it is an unwritten rule though in comedy. If you sit in the front row, the
It's
comedian will talk to you, and I think that is something you need to
fine.
accept.
Insulting, I'm
Right?
saying. Yeah,
Yeah, but also you don't want a dickhead on stage like doing the same thing. So I'll do it with the penultimate. My favourite question. Actually, no, I've got one more after this. Sorry. Um, what's been your favourite moment on stage, and what time did we bomb the hardest?
okay, let me start the bombing this. That might be. Oh, bombing. I mean, I don't have a very specific example. Um, yeah, I think I haven't really bombed severely, but I mean, like I said, I have forgotten jokes or forgotten punchlines at times. And but it's me knowing that I've bombed. It's not so much the audience knowing that I've bombed.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you're in self critique. Yes.
yeah, it's that way because I know I have missed something in this joke, but maybe I have recovered fairly okay from an audience point of view. But forgetting things is becoming my reason to worry and bomb, if at all. That's one thing, or yeah, I guess that's pretty much how I look at it. Um, Sometimes I remember a line said by somebody else and I'm tempted to use it, but I'm not sure if it was my line or somebody else's line, and then I get a bit nervous. And that can happen too because we watch so much and we hear so much that sometimes it just the words stay and we don't know the origin. And then sometimes they fit beautifully into what you are doing and you think you've thought about them and then you realize shit, it's not mine. Well, it is, but it's not, that kind of thing
Oh,
happens.
100. And when I tell like stories and stuff like that, not on the stage, to like when I'm on the podcast telling stories, I always feel guilty when I can't credit the right person with the joke. Or
Hmm.
oh, this who told me that? Who told me that? And I get annoyed at myself when I can't give the correct person
Yeah,
the
yeah.
props.
Or sometimes somebody tells you something which they have heard, and then that gets even more complicated
True.
because you take it from somebody as their contribution, but
Yeah.
it's not their original contribution either. That's
True, but I
a very
think if
risky
as long as
thing.
you've done your bit, then
Sorry?
you know what I mean, as long as you've done your bit and your integrity remains intact.
Yeah, but then somebody's heard that bit being mentioned by somebody else and not the person who told you. It gets
Yeah.
muddled. But how do you check? I mean, there's no
Can't.
way you can verify. Only if it's brought to your notice, you can say, "Oh shit," and then just drop the whole thing.
Yeah,
You
there's
know.
not like a Wikipedia of jokes and who wrote every single joke, who claims ownership of a
No.
joke. Completely agree. So, what's been your favourite moment on stage?
Favorite moment has been, well, I love playing to bigger audiences. So I think early days when I was just about a year and a half into comedy, I think I played for an audience of 350 people.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
that was a high, of course, and they liked what I did.
Yeah.
And the other one was just one of these clubs here where I got a standing ovation for my story, which
Love it.
then became a great bit. Yeah, I love applause breaks. I mean, for
Yeah.
me, that's a high. I really am a sucker for those. I mean, if I can get an applause break, I'm I'm done. You know, that's for me the biggest reward.
Completely. I mean, 2 Saturdays ago, I got a 5 second applause break, and it was like the first proper one I've ever had. You just sit in it, don't you? And it's just
Yeah, it
it
is.
makes it all worth it. All the grind, all everything done. So, last question:
Yeah.
what advice would you give to somebody who's never done comedy before, who's thinking about getting up on stage for the first time?
No, just do it. Let's just do it. Yeah, I think, I mean, I've heard this for myself as well. Just do it because the more you think about it, the more you will find reasons not to do it. So I would not overthink it. But I guess one also has to watch a lot before doing it. I think you should know what it is. You know, I wouldn't just go on stage without knowing what, having seen a live stand up myself. I think that's very important to see whatever quality, whatever comic, whatever topic, that's all good. But I think go watch a live show first before taking that final decision. But once you've seen it and if you've liked it, just do it.
100.
It
It's different
helps
to
to do
watching
a
it online,
course.
but do
It
a
helps to
course.
do a course. I wouldn't do online. I wouldn't consider
No, I was
online
like,
as,
if you want to go do stand up, go watch some stand up first. Don't watch it online. Actually,
yeah,
go to the club.
yeah, live.
Yeah.
And second is take a course. I mean, I was fortunate, and I think Amsterdam in the Netherlands, we have many courses now, which are, I think, from like 4 weeks to 8 weeks, which is like one class a week kind of thing. And I think it's needed. That gave me the confidence. One, the techniques, not that we use everything, but it's a nice introduction. And you get a chance to hold the mic in the class, speak to your bunch of colleagues. You get a group to jam with, which is also nice. So I think, yeah, a course is useful. I would tell that as well. Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant. Mona, it's been absolutely brilliant having you on. Thank you ever so much for
Love
coming
it.
on.
Yeah.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
And what are we? Okay, maybe we can, yeah, talk about this a little later when we're off record, probably. But yeah,
Okay, brilliant. Oh, we're talking about her dirty bits after the recording, guys. Sorry. It's off the camera.
yeah.
Cheers, guys. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks.